and to you on your screen it'll probably be backwards. From Marlow to Marvell. Anyways, the point I was making about Constantinople was that the map on the screen was backwards. Not really material, but there we go. This was published in 1950. So I rarely can turn down an anthology of poetry, because even though 50% of the stuff in there is completely worthless and 20% is pretty much worthless, there is 20 or 30% that's pretty good. The Sonnets of William Shakespeare. I see. I could have gotten the whole collected works of Shakespeare by now at Strand for 50 cents or $1 a book, because they've got, every once in a while you see 2 or 3 of his plays or a group of his plays, one of his plays here and there. But I want to get the full collected works of Shakespeare someday, and I've never seen that out there on their dollar rack. I do have it back in Utah, but I thought having all of the sonnets under one cover was nice. What Happened in History by Gordon Childe, C-H-I-L-D-E. I don't know if this is going to be particularly good. It might be influenced by the Marxist strain in anthropology and so on. Published, oh dear, December 1942. Updated in 48, 50, and 52. It goes clear back from Paleolithic savagery, Neolithic barbarism, the higher barbarism of the Copper Age, so that'll be interesting. Next, Inherit the Wind by Jerome Lawrence and Robert E. Lee. A couple copies of that now. I hope to get enough that I can read it with 5 or 7 or 10 students. Okay, The Conquest of the Material World. Essays on the coming of industrialization, or industrialism. I passed this book by on a couple of occasions, and luckily it was still there on the day when I decided to pick it up and have a look inside. And it looks like it's going to be a damned good read. So, for the introduction, Mining and Metallurgy in Medieval Society. What do you know about mining and metallurgy in medieval society? This is going to be a good read, so I should have put that early in the group of books. That's one I would suggest someone hire me to go into. The Making of the Middle Ages by R.W. Southern. There are so many books there at Strand on the Middle Ages. It makes me think that they must be obsessed with the Middle Ages here in New York City. Once in a great while a book on Rome, occasionally something on Greece, but again and again and again the Middle Ages. Kierkegaard, Edifying Discourses, a selection. Just had to have that in my philosophy section, in case I ever want to do Kierkegaard. Very religious philosopher, that. European Literature and the Latin Middle Ages. Again, the Middle Ages. This is an enormous book with many, many authors. A very large collection of writings, so I thought that was worth having just as a resource. This next one is evidence of the idiots at Strand and the liberal, Democrat, leftist, left-wing nature of New York City. Victor Davis Hanson, author of An Autumn of War. Between War and Peace, Lessons from Afghanistan to Iraq. It's published in 2005 or 2006. This book is in such good condition, I can't believe it. It is absolutely perfect condition. And some left-wing nut that works there must know about Victor Davis Hanson, and they were like, oh, let's get rid of that book. I am lucky enough to have been there. Exit into History, A Journey Through the New Eastern Europe. This is a lady who went after the Berlin Wall fell, and then she went back 1 year later and retraced her steps again to let it sink in a little more, that Europe was done with communism. She was, like I said, Polish, I think. She was from Poland. Euripides, Volume 5, Electra, the Phoenician Women, and the Bacchia. I have some other copies of this, and I'm trying to get enough that we can read those selections with school children. Enough copies for the class. Alexander the Great, The Brief Life and the Towering Exploits of History's Greatest Conqueror, as told by his original biographers. I looked into this, and it's woven together. It's very much like Plutarch, Arrian, Plutarch, Arrian, Arrian, Curtius, Arrian, Plutarch, Curtius, just like that. Selections from each one interwoven, hopefully skillfully. Hopefully it's not rough, but I'm afraid I might never get around to reading it. We'll see. I have certainly got it on hand, though. American Indians. Simple title, by William T. Hagen. This book was edited and overseen by Daniel J. Boorstin. Mentioned a book that he oversaw earlier. This looks like it'll be pretty good. It talks about the waffling back and forth of the American people from friendly to hostile. A big Indian attack would happen, and everyone was saying, "War, kill those damn Indians," and then several years would go by, and people just like the terrorists. If some big thing happens, then there's public pressure to do something about it. Otherwise, people aren't too interested in it. So, Edith Hamilton mythology. I've got several copies of that. Good to have around multiple copies for reading with the school kids. Now I've got some great books. Let me see if I have them all right here. Yeah, I did one of these earlier. The one with Rabelais and Montegru. Well, the one by Rabelais. I have another volume, matching cover. Handsome little set. Dostoevsky and Freud. From Dostoevsky, selections from the Brothers Karamazov. Just some philosophical passages. And Freud on the origins and development of psychoanalysis. I've got a fair little library of Freud now, unfortunately. It's growing. I'll try to... I shouldn't buy any more Freud, but I didn't used to have any of them on my shelf. Now I've got like 5 or 6 at the cost of like $3. So Descartes. Oh, here's the rest of these. I'll just look at that handsome little set. Now I'm missing book 1, 3, and 7, I believe. Out of like 13, a couple others. But anyways, 50 cents each here. Descartes, Discourse on Method. Hobbes, Selections from Leviathan. Pascal's Pensées. 50 cents. Plato, the Meno. Aristotle's Ethics, Nicomachean Ethics, selections from it. And Lucretius on the Nature of Things. 50 cents. Rousseau, The Origin of Inequality. Kant, Perpetual Peace. Rousseau and Kant, that goes together well. John Stuart Mill on Liberty. Didn't need another copy, except at 50 cents in a matching set, I do need another copy. I've got probably 2 other copies besides that. Mark Twain, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn, matches the set, fine. And who knows, I may feel the need to have school kids read that. 12 or 14-year-olds maybe. St. Augustine, Confessions, book 1 through 8. This I wouldn't have got, except it's in the matching set. And there's no reason not to have St. Augustine on your shelf. I used to confuse him with St. Thomas Aquinas, which is... it shouldn't be done. They were separated by centuries, 600 years. Homer's The Odyssey. This is from a publication made in the mid-1800s, with very flowery language. There it is. It's the great book set. One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich by Alexander Solzhenitsyn. It's about the Gulag concentration camps of Stalin. American Immigration by Maldwin Allen Jones. This is the second book I bought on immigration, on the subject of immigration in a while. This book, quote, reminds us that the history of immigration to the U.S. is also the history of immigration from somewhere else. Mr. Jones considers the forces that uprooted Europeans from their homes and analyzes the actual process of immigration. I don't know how good it will be. Published in 62, I think, 1960. Hopefully it'll be a good read.